Journal entry, day 3. So many bugs. Last night, before I went to bed, I managed to talk to Nurse Joy for a little while, and she told me that the gym leader here in Viridian City had been out of town, and that he wouldn't be back for quite some time. Well, there was nothing we could do about that. So instead, I decided to travel on. Figured after a long hard day of battling yesterday, today would be a nice day to take it a little easier and go visit the Pokemon League. But on my way, I ran into Mithril. Apparently he had the same idea. He told me to forget about going to the league, and that I had to have all the badges before they'd let me in. I knew about the badges, but I figured they'd at least let me in and look. But before he would go, he wouldn't let me leave until I battled him. He sent out a Pidgey. A fairly strong looking Pidgey at that. I sent out my Rathalos. I wanted him to see how much Rathalos had grown since our last battle. This battle had went a whole lot different than the first one. It was much easier to battle with multiple Pokemon and Pokemon that know more than just one move. I defeated this Pidgey with relatively easy. He was about to send out his Squirtle, so I switched, knowing that his Squirtle probably learned some water moves by now. And didn't want to put Rathalos in that kind of situation, so we sent out Rufus. Rufus using his quick attack that he had learned the day before. We just kept attacking. Much like our first battle, this one seemed to take a long time. But when it's all over, my Pokemon had come out victorious. I knew they would. They worked too hard for this yesterday. All that training paid off. Of course, Mithril wasn't too happy about losing, but he's never really too happy about anything, so that's okay. It wasn't long, he had left, and we made our way on over to the league. Not that I didn't trust Mithril or anything, but I wanted to see for myself. It was a relatively big building, but it didn't look big enough to hold a full Pokemon League. I went inside and looked around, found a guard at the door, went up and tried to go on in, but the guard wouldn't let me. They said I had to have the Boulder badge to pass through. I'm guessing there's a door for each badge and an officer at each. Oh well, the next time we see this building, we'll have collected all 8 badges and we'll be entering the league. Me and my team. So, afterwards, we decided we would make our way on up to Viridian Forest. Now that it was daytime, still really early in the morning, not too early, but we did manage to sleep in a little bit after such a hard day yesterday. But we made our way up to the forest. We didn't want to take it on last night. A dark, creepy forest, full of bugs waiting to attack. So we made our way up through here in the daytime. Seemed to be a relatively large forest. All kinds of trees and bushes and so much stuff. I could see how it'd be easy to get lost here. We came across a Pokeball laying on the ground. And our first Pokemon encounter was a wild Weedle. So I sent out Rathalos. But I knew Rathalos had the advantage in this situation, so we switched out Rocky. I know Rocky wasn't exactly what you'd consider super effective against bug type, him being fighting. That's kind of what we wanted. I wanted to make sure not to kill the Pokemon before I could catch it. Rocky went with a low kick and it didn't do hardly anything at all. So we took a chance and used Scratch, hoping that it wouldn't finish it off, and it didn't. The Weedle started using string shots and more, trying to lower my speed. But that was okay. We were at the point now where we were going to throw a Pokeball and try to catch it. We threw the ball and we watched in anticipation as it shook, and then it stopped. There's something about that moment when you hear the Pokeball click and you know you've just caught a new Pokemon. Weedle's data was added to our Pokédex. It said often found in forest and grasslands. It has a sharp toxic barb of around 2 inches on top of its head. So we decided to nickname it. I'd already looked up a lot about this forest last night in the Poke Center, and I'd seen where Weedle would evolve into a Kakuna and then into a Beedrill, and I decided I wanted to name him Hornet. It just had such a ring to it to go with this kind of Pokemon, that large stinger. We made our way back around since we'd come to a dead end, and we came across another Weedle. Sent Rathalos out. We kept going. It seemed like I was getting lost at every turn. Hornet was pretty injured after our battle, so I took one of the potions out of my bag and used it. I figured this would probably be a good time to train Hornet up some. He was already strong when we caught him, but I know with the right type of training like we did with the rest, he'd be even stronger. Our first random Pokemon after that was another wild Weedle. It was Weedle against Weedle. But just to be safe, I sent out Rathalos. This method had worked so well the day before. While training both my Rocky and my Rufus, it worked just too well not to continue on. One Ember from Rathalos, and that was that. Day 3. We came across a bug catcher way out here in the woods. I believe he said his name was Rick. He wanted to battle, like most of the rest. I believe this is actually our first trainer battle besides Mithril. But I don't count Mithril. Whoever counts Mithril. His Weedle looked a little stronger than mine at this point, so I figured it'd be a good chance to switch out Rathalos and give him a little extra training. Not that he needs it. Rathalos is as strong as ever. One Ember would take out any Pokemon in this forest. As we beat the first Pokemon, he was about to send out his other, so I switched back to Hornet. Figured I'd let Hornet try one time. They were about evenly matched. My Hornet versus his Caterpie. Too evenly matched. To the point where I was afraid it may come down to a draw and we both lose our Pokemon. So I switched out Rufus. Rufus is always prepared, especially with the quick attack. I used to think his tackle was fast. We defeated Rick, and he tried to give me directions, but I think he got lost himself. He wasn't sure which way to go. Which way to turn. It wasn't long after meeting Rick that we came across another trainer. A bug catcher, of course, named Doug. This forest seems to be full of bug catchers. But what better place to catch a bug than in a forest that's full of bugs? His Pokemon were even stronger than the last. So we sent Hornet out and let him fight for just a second before switching to Rufus again. Rufus took a deadly poison sting and managed to get poisoned. I decided to call Rufus back and switch out Rathalos. It's times like these that I was glad where I went to the market beforehand, bought those antidotes. Poor Rufus, I know, wouldn't have made it through the rest of the forest without them. As we drew to the conclusion of the battle, he was about to send out his last Pokemon, and I decided to switch Hornet back out. I wanted to see if Hornet could take on, I believe it was his evolution that he was about to send out, the way he talked. It was. With Kakuna only knowing Harden, I figured Hornet may stand a chance. But with Kakuna able to harden, raising his defense, I knew it'd be hard. After 3 or 4 hits, not a whole lot had changed. We weren't doing very much damage to it. It wasn't doing any to us. We decided this would be a good time to switch. We switched Rocky out. Rocky hadn't battled any today, so he wanted to get out and stretch his legs a little bit, throw a few punches. Mankey's always ready good for a good battle. That's half the reason I named him Rocky. He wasn't doing much better than Hornet was. The Kakuna had already started using Harden and raised its defense to the point where it wouldn't go any higher. So this battle was long and drawn out, but it was worth it in the end. We defeated Doug, and he gave me a few better directions than Rick had. We made our way on up the forest. It wasn't long till we found an antidote, which was perfect timing. They couldn't have timed that any better. I just used one to cure Rattata of its poison. And wouldn't you know it, it wasn't long till we ran into another bug catcher. There are so many bugs in this forest. They're everywhere. They're in the trees, they're in the grass, they're under rocks, and they're even in the people's Pokeballs. With all the battling that we were doing, I could tell that Hornet was getting stronger, but so was Rufus. I believe Rufus was pretty close to evolving. It wouldn't be long now, not many more battles. But Rufus and I had both decided that it would be best to keep him from evolving. He wasn't ready to evolve yet. He said he acted as though he wanted to grow stronger before evolving. I'd read once that Pokemon that don't evolve right away can learn some of their stronger moves beforehand. I believe that's what Rufus was really wanting to do. Of course, he only wanted to do it for me. But Weedle, on the other hand, I hadn't even realized how much Weedle had grown. After that battle, Weedle evolved. The Hornet had turned into a Kakuna and learned to harden. As we made our way through the forest, we encountered even more battles, one right after another. Weedles here, Caterpies there, occasionally a Kakuna or a Metapod. So many bugs in the forest. So many bugs, in fact, they were starting to bug me. Ha 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 ha. I had to try to make a funny there. Even though Kakuna was stronger than the Weedle, its past form as Weedle, it still wasn't quite effective enough to take on Pokemon of the same kind. So we decided Rufus should come back out again. Of course, Weedle trying to use String Shot to slow down Rufus, and I don't blame him. Rufus' speed was incredible, but with Quick Attack it really didn't matter. I believe we were finally on the right path. A path that would lead us straight into the next city. Journal entry day 3. It seems as though we spent most of our day walking through this forest, getting lost, fighting wild bug Pokemon, and finding trainer after trainer. We met one named Charlie. He sent out a Metapod versus my Kakuna. You talk about a boring battle, that would have been it. Luckily I had other Pokemon to switch to, so I sent Rufus out one more time, knowing that this battle should put him up the same as with Rathalos. As we finished off the first Pokemon, I switched Hornet back out, knowing Hornet needed to get as much experience here as he could. And then we switched over to Rocky. The Caterpie had put up a good fight against Rocky, but in the end Rocky came out victorious, with little damage done. He's about to send out his final Pokemon, a Metapod. So I sent Kakuna back out. Again, this would have made for a very boring battle. But luckily my Hornet was able to keep the poison sting it had learned as a Weedle. And no matter how many times the Metapod used Harden to harden itself, the poison, it affected the poison in no way. The poison did more damage every turn. This bug trainer and bug catcher had managed to get lucky. His Metapod had the ability called Shed Skin. So when it was affected by a status, it would just shed the skin it was in and be fine. But Hornet and I were determined to finish this one off ourselves. No switching this time. Hornet just kept using Poison Sting after Poison Sting. Until finally the battle was over. And he grew even stronger. With that, we defeated Charlie and we decided to move on. He told us we were on the right path. Rufus had gained enough experience to evolve. But, like we said, Rufus forced itself to stay as a Rattata. Journal entry day 3. It wouldn't be long now until the sun would start to set, but I think we were finally beginning to get close to the end of this dreadful forest. I was incredibly impressed with the way Hornet had been growing stronger with every battle, just like the rest of my Pokemon. I knew it wouldn't be long now until Hornet would grow strong enough to evolve even further. I had heard that the bug Pokemon evolve faster than any of the rest, but I couldn't even begin to comprehend just how fast that really was. As we battled what I believed to be the last trainer here in the forest, I could almost see the end in sight. The doorway out of this forest. All that stood between me and it now was this one trainer. But after I had switched to Rathlos, he went down with no problems. Rathlos just has too great of an advantage against the bug types. With this we were home free, hoping to make it. And we finally did. We had finished making it through Route 2 in Viridian Forest. And we made it all the way up to Pewter City. Pewter City was a nice little town. You could hear the dogs barking, a few children playing. Even inside the Pokemon Center you could hear it. It was just a small town. Not quite as small as Pallet Town, but not far from it. It made me feel right at home. I went into the Poke Center to let my Pokemon rest, and I found Nurse Joy. So I went up and started talking to her, and she looked at me weird. I asked her if she could remember me, and she said she'd never met me. I said back in Viridian City. It confused me how she could forget me so easily. But then she explained that her and all of her sisters and all of her cousins all look the same and are all named Nurse Joy. You talk about a weird family. And that's it. I made my way around. Figured it'd be a good time to check my bag. It looked like I still had 3 potions and 3 antidotes. I could use one more Pokeball, but I decided to hold off, save my money while I could. Looked around the town a little before it got dark, and then headed back towards the Pokemon Center. We hadn't had supper yet. We just wanted out of that forest, so we went back to the Pokemon Center. As the sun set, got us a bite to eat, sat down at the table, and just enjoyed talking with the locals. It had been a pretty exciting day. We managed to defeat Mithril again. We caught a Weedle, named it Hornet, and it even evolved. My first evolution. Made it through that forest. That was the best part of the day, getting through it. Looking forward to what tomorrow holds. I know the city's got a gym leader. I don't know anything about the gym leader, but I know he's going to be strong, he's going to be tough. May do some training beforehand. May check out a museum that I heard about. So those are the plans for tomorrow. Taking on the gym. And we might see if we can make it through the cave into the next city. I've never been through a cave. I'm a little scared, but that's okay. As long as I've got my Pokemon with me, I know I'll make it. We'll make it with no problem. But until then, we're going to rest, take it easy, and get a good night's sleep.